In today's video, I'm going to be talking about what is a spousal RRSP. So RRSP is Registered Retirement Savings Plan. Now, a spousal RRSP works differently than a regular RRSP in which you can actually contribute to your spouse's RRSP. However, there are a few rules, and also more than that, why would you do it in the first place? So I'll actually talk about some uses for this and a little bit of examples, and maybe the fact that it's not quite as useful as it was in the past, and I'm gonna explain all that in this video. So let's get into it. What's up, guys? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Philip Setter. I am the founder and CEO of Affinity Life, which is an online life insurance platform here in Canada, but I will tell you a little bit more about that later on in this video. Let's just jump right into a spousal RRSP. Okay, by the way, if you're not familiar with how an RRSP works, I made a full-length video about just a regular RRSP, not a spousal RRSP, and you can watch that. I'll put it up there. So if some of the things that I'm saying in this video are a little bit confusing, maybe just go back and watch that video, because that explains how an RRSP works. And a spousal RRSP and a regular RRSP kind of work more or less the same. There are a few differences here and there, and I'm gonna explain it. But if you don't know what an RRSP is or how it works at all, start with that video and we'll go from there. So basically how a spousal RRSP works is this, and what I'm gonna do in this video is I'm gonna explain the mechanics of how it works, and then at the end of the video, I'm gonna talk about, is this still useful in 2022 when I'm making this video, and should you contribute to a spousal RRSP? Okay, so this is how it works. An individual, let's take a quick example here. An individual has either a wife or a common law partner. Now, a common law partner is someone they live in the same house for 12 months, okay? That was only 2 months, so this is 12 months, and they can then contribute to their spousal RRSP. Now, how it works is, let's say that individual A, let's actually give them names to make it a little bit easier. Let's say Bob, okay? Bob has a contribution limit in this current year of $50,000, meaning he can put $50,000 into his RRSP. And he has a spouse, and this spouse, let's say her name is Jane, Bob and Jane. I don't know if that's that original, that's okay. Jane, maybe let's say, is a stay-at-home wife. She's not working, so she doesn't really have anything to contribute to her RRSP, and she doesn't really have any contribution limit. So what Bob can do is he can actually contribute to his own RRSP, and that would use his own contribution room. So he could put $50,000 into his own, and that would use up the room for the year. But another thing that he can do is he can actually contribute to his wife's RRSP, and this would be a spousal RRSP. So you're actually contributing your income into your spouse's RRSP. Now, you as a contributor are going to be the one that receives not only the tax deduction on your income, but also you're gonna use your own personal contribution room. So you can't put $50,000 into your own RRSP and then $50,000 into a spousal RRSP. That room is going to go down accordingly. So you can only put, let's say, $30,000 into your own and $20,000 into your spouse's. Now, this account works exactly the same as an RRSP, and if you haven't watched the video, go watch that video that I made about an RRSP. But essentially, everything within it grows tax deferred, so you don't pay any taxes on the gains on your investments, okay? And of course, when you withdraw from that account, it is taxable. Now, let's talk about withdrawals here real quick. If in the first 3 years, the spouse withdraws that income from the spousal RRSP, then you personally, as a contributor, are going to have that taxable income attributed to you. After the first 3 years, however, at that point, the taxable income would be contributed to the spouse. So within the first 3 years, it's contributed to you, even though they took it out and maybe you wanted them to take it out, maybe you didn't. That income is gonna be attributed to you and your taxes are gonna go up accordingly. After the first 3 years, it's gonna be attributed to the spouse. Now, one more thing to note about this spousal RRSP is, for all intents and purposes, this is their account. So you can contribute into it. Let's say that you contributed $30,000 into this account. That's no longer your money. They have full control of that account, and they could take it out the next day if they wanted to. They could take it out in 5 years, they could take it out in 10 years, and you have no control over what they use it for, what they invest in, or anything like that. For all intents and purposes, it is their account now. Okay, before we go on, I did want to quickly tell you guys about Affinity Life. I told you at the beginning of the video I would tell you a little bit more about it. So Affinity Life is an online life insurance platform. I'm the founder and CEO of this company. We founded in 20 2020. We launched in 2022, so it's a relatively new company. However, I've poured a ton of my heart and soul into this company, and I'm super proud of what me and the dev team were able to accomplish. What our goal with this company is to essentially put the control for life insurance back into your hands. I found that typically when you want to get life insurance, it was hidden behind this veil of having to talk to brokers and get quotes online where they had to put in your phone number and your email and they'd harass you, and there's these call centers, and if you wanted to apply, they would come over to your house, and it was just a big mess. So Affinity Life is 100% online. You can go there and view quotes online. You can apply online without the need to ever talk to someone if you don't want to talk to someone. But if you do want advice and you want to talk to someone, we're here whenever you have any questions. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'll put the link in the description below and you guys can check that out. Okay, so let's talk about some uses for a spousal RRSP, because if you're listening to this video, you're probably thinking, I don't understand why you would ever use this. It doesn't really make any sense. Well, the purpose of a spousal RRSP when it was introduced was to have a high income earner be able to allocate some of his investments in retirement to his spouse. So when they start to pull an income, they could pull somewhat of a balanced income between the husband and the wife, and essentially the taxes could somewhat level each other out, as opposed to having it all on one person and then the taxes would be astronomically higher, because we understand that the more we make in Canada, the more they're going to tax. So the idea was, again, if there was a high income earner and someone that was a low income earner, you could levelize these investment accounts in this spousal RRSP, and then upon retirement, you could pull that out equally between the two partners. Now, in 2007, the Canada government introduced pension splitting between your company pensions as well as your RRSP, which can be converted into RRIFs. And so essentially, the purpose of this account was kind of negated after they introduced this pension splitting, because you can essentially have all of the investments in one account and still have control over it, and you made the money and you contributed to it. And then in retirement, you can still split that with your spouse. Now, there are some criteria that you need to meet, such as you need to be the age 65 and over. And of course, you can't split your CPP or your OAS as well. With that being said, the use cases for a spousal RRSP are a lot less nowadays, because it's not really necessary, since you can split your existing RRSP, which you can convert into a RRIF at age 65, and you can split that. And I hope I'm not confusing you too much, but there are still a few different cases where this could be valuable. The first case is for individuals that still want to do pension splitting, but they want to retire early. As I mentioned, you need to be age 65 in order to split your pension through a RRIF, a registered retirement income fund, and that's essentially what your RRSP would convert into. So if you wanted to retire at, let's say, age 55, and you still wanted to split your income with your partner that's maybe a low income earner, so you can levelize those taxes, in that case, this still could be applicable. And the other two cases that this may be applicable is if you wanted to double down on the home buyer's plan or the lifelong learning plan. And if you don't know what those are, again, watch that RRSP video, but I'll quickly explain them. The home buyer's plan is essentially where you can borrow from your RRSP tax-free and purchase a home. And the lifelong learning plan is essentially where you can, again, borrow from that and go to some type of accredited university or schooling that the Canada government approves of, and use that to fund your education. And again, you do need to pay it back within a certain time frame. All these details are in that RRSP video that I made. The way that you can double down on this is, again, if you contribute to your own RRSP and then you contribute to the spousal RRSP, you can essentially get twice the amount on both those programs. So in 2022, right now, it's $35,000 for the home buyer's plan. So if you double down on that, you could borrow up to $70,000 for a down payment. And the lifelong learning plan, it's $20,000 per individual. So again, $20,000 from your RRSP, pardon me, and $20,000 from the spouse RRSP would be $40,000. Again, it's 2022. These numbers might change in the future. However, if you wanted to double down on either of those platforms and programs, this is one way you could do it. So as you can see, it's not quite as beneficial as it used to be, but there is still a few cases that it may be applicable. Again, one thing that you need to know is if they take it out within the first 3 years, that taxable income is going to be attributed to you, as well as anything that you put into a spousal RSP, you no longer have control of. So there are some pros and there definitely are some cons. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions, just drop them in the comments below. And if you guys are enjoying this content, all I ask is that you give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next video.